Hey guys, what's up? So this video is going to be about fetal circulation. Let's finish it really quickly. So this is the normal circulation of an adult person. So this is a schematic diagram of the person's heart, the right atrium, the left atrium, right ventricle. Okay, all these chambers are present. So this is the superior vena cava, this is the inferior vena cava draining into the right atrium as shown on the red pointer. And this is the pulmonary trunk dividing into two pulmonary arteries, carrying deoxygenated blood to take it to the lung for oxygenation. These are for pulmonary veins, which carry oxygenated blood, and this is the aorta. So this is how I have represented in my video. This is a schematic representation, very helpful to remember. No complex diagrams included in this presentation. So the fetal circulation, there is a slight change in where the gas exchange occurs. Usually in an adult, a gas exchange occurs in the lungs, but since fetuses don't breathe, it occurs in the placenta. So we'll see how the blood travels throughout the body of the fetus in two heads, the route of blood returning to the heart and the route of blood returning to the organs from the heart. So for the first one, how it goes to the heart. So first is the placenta, which is the site of oxygen transfer. So the oxygen-rich blood from the placenta reaches the umbilical vein. Through the umbilical vein, it enters into the portal vein. From the portal vein, there is a bypass from the portal circulation to the systemic circulation through this thing is called the ductus venosus. Through that, it enters into the inferior vena cava. At this point of time, inferior vena cava also receives blood from a hepatic vein, from the lower limbs, and abdominal viscera along with the renal vein. And such an inferior vena cava is going to enter into the right atrium. Right atrium also receives blood from superior vena cava. So the blood from the right atrium, assuming they are all from the inferior vena cava, which is also receiving blood from the placenta, which is technically oxygenated. It's partly oxygenated because it receives blood from all these organs as well. So from right atrium, 1/3 of the blood crosses the midline and it crosses the interatrial septum in order to reach the left atrium through foramina valley. And the rest of the 2/3 of the blood from inferior vena cava directly drains into the right ventricle. And the blood from superior vena cava also drains into the right ventricle. And this blood, which is going to the left atrium, enters into the left ventricle ultimately. A point to be noted is that SVC carries deoxygenated blood, whereas inferior vena cava has both oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, which basically means that this blood quality is better in the oxygen saturation, which means this blood is better for the brain, right? So let's see where this blood from the heart goes. So we read it under two heads, that is how the blood leaves the right heart and the left heart. So from the right ventricle it goes through the pulmonary trunk, but since there's no lungs, it is going to bypass into the aorta. How does it do that? It has ductus arteriosus, which is a connection between pulmonary trunk and the descending aorta. So this blood, which is from the right ventricle, which means it has SVC's blood and 2/3 of the IVC. So technically it is not so well saturated with oxygen. So this blood is going to supply the lower half of the body, that is the lower limbs, the abdominal viscera and the kidney. And after that it carried on through the umbilical arteries and reaches the placenta for oxygenation. Whereas the left ventricle, which has received blood only from the inferior vena cava, which was comparatively a better blood, reaches the ascending aorta, and this goes straight up and supplies the coronary arteries, the brain, and also the upper limb. So this is a schematic diagram of what happens. So the blood, this is the inferior vena cava, the blood comes, and 1/3 goes here to the opposite atrium, which is the left atrium, and it goes here directly to the ascending aorta and to the head, okay, and the upper limbs as well. And this one This blood is going to go down basically after getting the supply from this, because this is connected through the, as we already saw here, it is connected through the ductus arteriosus. The DA connects to the DA. DA is ductus arteriosus, DA is descending aorta too. That's how I remember it. And this is the outflow tract. So from here, no, this is the inflow tract. So this is the umbilicus. This oval opening is the umbilicus, and directly goes to the hepatic vein and the IVC, and then the atrium, and we know the story, right? So thanks.